Hello students, welcome to Learner's Planet. Let us continue with the chapter Diversity in Living Organisms. This is the 19th theory session of this chapter. Until now, I have explained to you about the basic criteria so as to classify the kingdom Animalia, right? Animals, they are of different types and they are sub-classified into different phylums or different groups, right? In the earlier session, I was discussing about the worms, the basic features of the worms, right? So now these worms, can you now just think that which kingdom, which phylum is comprised of the worms, right? So basically there are three different types of worms and thus there are three phylums. And what are they? Flatworms, which is actually making a group or the phylum known as the platyhelminths, right? Then there are some threadworms, and these threadworms they belongs to which group? That is nematoda, right? And another one is the segmented worms, and these segmented worms they constitute the phylum Annelida, right? So after studying about these basic groups, now the next group that we have to understand is the this arthropoda, right? So in today's session I'm just going to discuss some of the basic features which are present in the organisms that belong to group arthropoda. So let's see now. So here is the flowchart. And before explaining you the features, I would just like to explain, just mention that this arthropoda, what this word actually means. Again, it is comprised of two different words, that is arthro and poda. Arthro means jointed and poda it means legs or it means the appendages, right? So the group is comprised of those organisms in which cilia is absent or those parapodia like structures are absent, but for the locomotion the jointed legs or the appendages are present. So if in some lower organisms, if you observe this feature, you can straightforward mention that it must belong to the phylum Arthropoda. This is the most important identifying feature of these particular organisms or the organisms which are belonging to this group. Fine. So even if you're in your practicals or in exams, an organism is there and you have to mention that it must belong to which phylum, then if it is having this appendage, right, or these jointed legs, you can easily say that of course it must belong to the arthropoda. Merely the appendages is not the representative feature, but the presence of the jointed legs, right? Those jointed legs should be present or jointed appendages should be present. Anyways, the other features of this group is that they are free living and ubiquitous, right? So they can lead their life in an independent manner and they can of course move around very easily, as of course they are having the jointed legs. And besides this, they are ubiquitous. You know what this ubiquitous means? It means that they are found everywhere. These organisms, they are sharing all different types of habitats. They are found everywhere. And more importantly, these organisms, they are most abundant also. What I mean by this is that it is the largest group of animals. The most of the organisms, right, the diverse living forms, they belong to this phylum, that is Arthropoda. Besides this, they are having bilateral symmetry. And of course, bilateral symmetry means that their body is divided into two equal halves. I mean, you can, if you have to study, definitely you can draw a central line from top to bottom and you will observe that the left and right half is equivalent. They are more or less similar to each other. Fine. Then these organisms, they are hemocoelomate and they are triploblastic. So the word triploblastic, it means that they have been developed from three germ layers, right? And definitely they are having the organs which are developed from these three layers. Besides that, they are having a cavity also, right? And this cavity is of course a developed one and is filled with blood. And since it is filled with blood, then I can say that it is known as the hemocoelomic cavity. The true coelom, right, it is reduced to some parts of body. Actually, it is limited to the genital area and the excretory part of the body, right? But otherwise, entire cavity is filled with the blood, right? And definitely, if I'm saying that it is filled with the blood, then the another point must come in your mind that they are having the open circulatory system. In the earlier group, that is Annelida, true cavity was present and the circular system was closed. But here, if we compare it, then these organisms, they are having open circulatory system, and therefore the blood is able to fill the cavity in these organisms. Besides this, they have the real developed organs, as was present in the Annelida also. But definitely the complexity and the development and the differentiation of these organs is much more complex as compared to the group Annelida. Further, the segmentation is less as compared to the other group, that was Annelida. These organisms, they are having the segmented body, but this segmentation is limited to some parts only, and I can say like it is less as compared to those, because in Annelida the entire body was arranged in the metameric segment, right? Or they were having these metameres which are arranged in a particular way, right? But here the limitation is there with respect to the number of the segments, and the entire body is divided into three main parts, that is head, thorax and abdomen, and each part might be having different number of segments. Fine. Then the exoskeleton. Of course, this exoskeleton is a very important feature, and in this case, usually the exoskeleton is present, right? And it is present over this body part, and is actually made up of a chitinous structure which is known as cuticle. Further, the alimentary canal, it is complete. That means it runs from the anterior mouth to the posterior anus, and in between the different parts are also developed, right? Further, respiration, it occurs either through the body surface, or there are some developed structures which are known as the book lungs or the book gills. So these structures, they are actually participating in the exchange of gases, and further it also participates in the transport of the respiratory gases, right? Further, the next part is the excretion. Now in these organisms, excretion is taking place with the help of Malpighian tubules. Now definitely, I mean, you must be knowing that what is meant by this excretion. It is of course the removal of waste material from the body, and excretion is not only removing this waste material or the nitrogenous waste material, but even it is participating in the osmoregulation. Osmoregulation, that means the maintenance of water level in the body, and the level of ions, right? So that for this purpose, in these organisms, the special structures are present that is known as the Malpighian tubules. These Malpighian tubules, they are actually present, or they are actually linked with the alimentary canal. These tubules, they are present in somewhat posterior, towards the posterior part of the body, and these tubules, they are joined with the alimentary canal at the junction of midgut and the hindgut. That means the post-intestinal region is there, and middle and the posterior part. The junction of these two is having the joint with the Malpighian tubules also. So Malpighian tubules, it helps in the removal of the nitrogenous waste from the body, and it also helps in the maintenance of the water level and the ions. So now whatever material, right, that has been extracted as a waste from the body in these tubules, it is transported into the intestine, or I can say that into the gut, right? From there it is transported to the hindgut, right? That means the posterior part of the intestine, and then it is transported or stored further in the rectum, and after that it is removed out through the anal pore. So these tubules, they do not open to the outside through the excretory pore, rather they are opening outside through the anal pore only, right? So this is how the excretion occurs in these organisms. Besides this, these organisms, they are unisexual, and the reproduction is definitely sexual. Now, unisexual, I know you must be understanding that the organisms, they are having a single type of sex organ in an individual body, right? That means male and female bodies are separate, and reproduction occurs through the sexual method. That means by the fusion of male and female gamete. So now let me give you some examples, and I will show you pictures so that of course you can understand that how I am saying that you can easily identify these organisms by looking at the physical appearances only, right? So the common examples are like scorpion, prawn, spider, housefly, mosquitoes, millipedes, centipedes, moth, honeybees, then butterfly, then like prawns, and so on. There are so many different examples, right? Now, by looking at this particular these examples, can you see that there are so many different features also in these organisms, right? They are not exactly similar to each other. If you just compare, let us say, a spider with a mosquito, you can see that there are many differences, isn't it? So therefore, initially I told you that this group is the largest group of animal, and the organisms, I can say like around 90,000 species or more than that are present in this particular group, right? So now you can imagine that what a broad category it is, and with this broad category, the broad diverse forms are also there, or the varied features are also present in these groups, but still they are placed in single group, that is the arthropoda, and the reason behind that is the presence of the jointed legs. You can see this is the picture of scorpion, and you can observe that they are having these jointed feet, right? Similarly in spider, even there the jointed feet is present. Body, of course you can observe the differences here, but there are similarities also, right? Now as I said that the body is having segmentation, but is less than that in the case of annelida. So in these groups, I can say initially the body is divided into head part, thorax part, and the abdominal part, right? And here one thing I should mention that in these organisms, okay, the general body division is like I have said, but in different organisms, sometimes this head and the thorax parts is joined. It is not separated, right? Then the degree of segmentation also varies. So internally also there are many different features over there, and usually the segments which are present in these parts, like if it is a abdominal part or the thorax part, then some segments are also there, and they are having the attached these appendages, right? And for the attachment of these appendages, the special smooth muscle structure is also there. So they are having the accordingly developed muscular system also, so that it can help in the attachment of these limbs or these appendages, and it can support the movement of these organisms. Fine. Let me show you other pictures also. Here are some more examples like millipede, centipede, and you can see that these organisms, they are having many number of appendages here, isn't it? Millipede and centipede, they are very much similar to each other, as they are having many appendages here. So in these organisms, what is the basic difference? Millipede, they are having more than single pair attached to single segment, right? As you can see here, in the single segment there is either two pairs or more than that appendages present, right? And therefore it is known as millipede. Whereas in centipede, the appendages in the single segment, a single pair of appendage is present. Besides this, centipedes, they are usually having the flattened body structure, whereas the millipedes, they are having somewhat round or cylindrical structure. So but of course, if you have to place this organism in this group, the most important feature to look at is the jointed appendages, right? Further, the next is like butterfly and the cockroach. These two pictures are shown here. Of course, jointed appendages are there, but besides that, you can see that they are even having the antenna and they are having the wings. So further, these are the further additional characteristic features which is present in this particular group. So if these lower organisms, if they are having the jointed appendages, they are having the antenna and they are having the wings, blindly you can place them in the group arthropoda. So now looking at such differences, right, now you can understand that how these must be subclassified, right? So such dissimilarities helps us to subclassify these particular organisms into further class or the further different levels, right? But now definitely the basic feature, again I repeat, is the one that is jointed appendages. Well, now further, let us move to the next group, that is Mollusca. So student, this group Mollusca, it is derived from the name that is molluscus, and this molluscus, it means soft. So basically, the organisms which belong to this phylum, they have a soft body. These organisms, they are definitely free living, and they are aquatic. They are exclusively aquatic organisms. Fine. And of course, in aquatic, usually they are marine, or they may be found in the fresh water also, right? Besides this, they are having bilateral symmetry, and of course the segmentation is of course much more reduced in these particular organisms. It was highest in the case of Annelida, and then it was reduced in the arthropoda, and now here it has reduced much more, right? And they are also hemocoelomic, right? Now hemocoelomic, I hope you understand what is meant by this. Hemocoelomates, they are those organisms in which the cavity is present but it is filled with the blood. So such type of blood filled cavity is known as hemocoelomic cavity. These organisms, they are triploblastic. In fact, I must say that you can remember one point. This triploblastic, such type of organization begins from the group platyhelminths. Platyhelminths onwards, further all groups, they all are triploblastic. There in them the development, of course, it occurs from the three germ layers, and the groups which are below this platyhelminths, they are diploblastic. You know which one is diploblastic? It is Coelenterata. Before platyhelminths, the lower category is which one? It is Coelenterata. So Coelenterata is diploblastic, and before that porifera. It is for that we cannot use this term because over there the tissue formation is actually it is negligible. It is very less in those organisms. So they are basically we can say that they are acellular type, or they do not have such type of organization where the tissues are developing from two or three germ layers. Rather, they are living as a colony, as the body organization is very simple, right? Well, let us come back to mollusca. But of course you can remember this point, so don't have to learn it again and again, right? In this case, the organisms, they show organ level of organization. I can say that some systems are also developed here, organ system, although they are not very well developed as compared to the higher organisms, but definitely the organ level is well defined, or it is distinctly developed over there, right? Because even in the arthropoda some different organ systems are observed, but they are of course very simple. So basically we should mention that they are having developed organ level of organization, but complete organ system, it has not been developed yet. Okay. Further, the body is divided into the anterior head part, ventral foot, and the dorsal visceral mass. So they are having this unique feature in which such type of features actually give its a very different type of structure. Usually the visceral mass is present in the ventral part. Of course, head is anterior always, but visceral parts they are usually accommodated towards the ventral part. But here, the ventral part is it is having the foot region, and above that the dorsal part is there where the visceral mass is present. And towards the most dorsal side, the nerve cord or the these nervous system is also present, right? Further, the exoskeleton is definitely present, which is hard and is made up of calcareous shell, or it is made up of calcium carbonate. This is now the important feature of this particular group. See, the organism's body is soft and it is living in water, and thus it also requires protection. So in this case the exoskeleton is definitely present, and this hard calcareous shell provides the protection via this skeleton. Alimentary canal is simple, like it extends from the definitely from mouth to anus, with differentiated parts in between, right? Circulatory system is open. The blood vessels, they are not closed. In this case, as it is open, so definitely the blood is filled into the cavity, and thus they are also known as hemocoelomate, right? Then for the respiration, a type of lung type or gills are present. Lung type structures are there, which is helping in the respiration of these organisms, right? In the lower organisms over there, I explained that in that case this respiration occurs through the skin. So here it is not so. In this case, the gills or the lung type structures are present, which are helping in the process of the respiration. You remember in the arthropoda, I told you respiration, it takes place through the specific structures which are known as book lungs, right? So now you can see that how the development is taking place in the next phylum. Besides this, in these organisms, sense organs are also present in some of the species. So over here, besides the nervous system, now there is the development of the sense organs also. Further, these organisms are unisexual, and they reproduce by the sexual method, that is by the fusion of gametes which are produced by the male and the female organisms, right? So now let me tell you the some of the examples, and with that you can just imagine that what type of organisms will come in this category. So students, here are the examples like chitin, octopus, unio, pila. Many examples are there, and I have shown you these two pictures here, that is pila and the octopus. So this pila, now after observing this organism, now you can imagine that which organism is actually known as the pila, right? In this organism, you can see that this shell is present, right? And towards this part, this side, the ventral foot is present. The shell, see, this is a ventral foot, and to the opposite side, that opposite side of shell, that must be the dorsal part, and towards that the visceral mass is present, right? Similarly, even in the dorsal side only, the organism, that the nervous system is also present. Fine. The next picture is octopus. So here you can see that many appendages are also present, right? And these appendages, they are having the suckers over there, which help in capturing the prey and obtaining the nutrition. So these are the basic points regarding the group Mollusca, and then further we will study about the next group, that is Echinodermata, and this we are going to discuss in the next session. Okay, so till then, study well, go through the text so as to understand the things more properly. Okay, so I will meet you in the next session now. Till then, thank you so much. Have a nice day.